Hey, everybody, welcome to the Hurdie Burk Internet Broadcast Network from State of the Art Studios right here in Round Rock, Texas. Hey, John.
Yeah.
John Russell's in the house, by the way. Say hi.
How's it
And Bryce,
going?
if you yell loud enough, he can hear you too.
Hello.
There you go. That was yeah, no problem. We heard him. So, anyhow, guys, welcome to the Hybrid Political Thinking Show where we don't know what the hell we're going to talk about tonight, but we will throw it together in the next 45 minutes to an hour or less, depending if we run out of content.
We have plenty of content.
Okay, that's fine. And Bryce is going to jump on. He's one of our guys that bring in a millennial point of view, and I can't wait to hear his stuff because we got into a conversation about a week ago about some stuff, and it was really cool to hear what Bryce was saying about some of the politics and stuff and what they don't care to watch and what they will watch, right? And so we're going to have some fun tonight talking politics. But before we do, let me clear the decks a little bit. For you guys listening for the first time, we will have very few viewers. So if you're one of the few, you might be the only one. That's no big deal. What we really like to do is get this out on YouTube as an archive after it's over. And then we put this on a custom player so we can add interactive links, pictures of us, that old saying about, I'd like to know what the guy looks like is talking on that show, right? So you'll get to see that. And we spread that out across the social network. So we really call it the show after the show. I stole that, but that's really what it is. So tonight we're just broadcasting about what we're doing. So John, welcome. Bryce, welcome. And, let's just start. So who wants to start? John, you always have something to say at the beginning. And remember, every time somebody makes a good point, they're going to hear that. That's our doorbell. Okay?
That doesn't mean that
and it goes crazy on most of the shows.
That's correct.
Now, John, I will tell you, this is the third show, the second show of the beta test. I'm getting some good comments on YouTube from people saying we're entertaining. I'm laughing at that. I really am. I go, really? You mean I'm entertaining? I love that. Oh, I mean, and John's entertaining? I love that too. But the cool thing is, we'll get into more of a format as we figured it out. Like some people suggested we just go topic to topic and not ramble, but there's times to ramble, which is kind of kitchen table talk, which we love because that's kind of how we talk around the bar. That's kind of how we talk when we're all sitting around interrupting each other, right?
Kind of like sitting in a real.
So we're just throwing stuff out and talking about it.
Like an old-time Italian family or something.
But we're friends, and so we may disagree, but we disagree in a good way. And there's no going out and fighting in the hallway after it's over, and I don't delete him from my Facebook page. I don't. It's okay. It's all right. So, John, cool topics. What do you want to pound on right now?
I want to start out with...
He always has something to say.
With Volkswagen.
That's a doorbell.
And,
okay.
Volkswagen.
Okay.
I've seen this pattern over the last several months. All these big corporations that try to sneak away, getting something under the radar, and then they do it to try to either increase sales or save money, but eventually it comes home to roost. And the amount of money that Volkswagen is losing by the comparison to the amount of money they would have gained is already far outshadowed. They are getting their butts kicked, and I hate to say this, but they deserve it.
And they cheated.
Well, and you have this thing with, a couple months ago with Bluebell ice cream. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Bluebell ice cream, especially as someone who lives in Texas. But at the end of the day, how the story came out, that Bluebell was warned that they had a possible problem, and we'll deal with it, but we'll deal with it later. So,
the thing
is that these companies, it doesn't matter if you're a big corporation or a small business, you need to remember the responsibility.
Integrity.
Be responsible, have integrity, and don't try to cut corners. It always comes home to roost.
So, and it's getting worse for Volkswagen because I understand today this might be carrying over onto the Porsche line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So this idea of cheating the emissions control so that you can sell more cars, why did they? Let me ask you something, John. This is the question for you because you're smarter than I am. Really, you are. Yes, you are. You're smarter than me. Okay.
I don't know
You're
about that.
You're supposed to say, yes, I am.
Well, I was just going to.
Okay.
I'm taking it in and absorbing it and liking it.
Here is the question. Okay. How the heck did they ever think they weren't going to get caught?
Well, I don't know.
That's a tough question. Did they just think that nobody would ever look at that system and figure that out? That they're, I mean, how do
Or,
you?
or
That's a big decision
well,
to make. That we're going to back off on the emissions and fool people.
so you need to look at something else. You know, this investigation is going to probe deep into what
Oh,
happened.
absolutely.
And in corporations, people are always under pressure to come up with a way to save money. And if you save money, you get a bonus
And
sometimes.
take care of their stockholders.
So no, I'm talking about
Oh, they're
the
internal people.
They're internal
Okay.
people.
All right.
So this is a tech thing. There may be some guy that's working in the tech sector about emissions and thought, I have a way that Volkswagen's going to make a lot of money if we go ahead and put this technology
And we're
in.
guessing.
Well, yeah, we're only
Okay.
guessing, just like everyone's guessing what happened with the plane crash in the Sinai.
Yeah, well, that we can ramble into that too. So, so Volkswagen looks like it's going deeper and deeper and deeper. Um, it's going crazy. So, indicated, I'm reading something here from Bryce. Indicated that certain features of future models will needed regulatory approval. With that processing complete, he said the company had withdrawn the application for certification of the 216 model vehicles. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
I mean, so you're probably, is it possible that this company will be non-existent?
I don't think so. What I did not realize is they had become
They'll be eating
the
bread,
largest
though.
automotive company in the world. I always thought that it was either Toyota or GM. So I learned something new. Apparently, Volkswagen took the reins. So if you're over in Europe, you see so many VW products and sub products like the Czech car Skoda got bought out by
That's BMW.
VW, and
Yeah.
motorcycles and things like that.
Yeah, they do. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And Bryce is chiming in all the industrial vehicles that they throw out there, which is, probably under scrutiny at this point too. So they will be eating a lot of peanut butter and jelly for the next couple of years, right?
Well, not the CEOs.
Oh, okay. They get off.
Of course.
They go to halfway houses for like 4 years,
No,
and they
go to a
develop new
golf
cars,
course, but they just can't get off.
and they
the
develop
golf
new
course.
cars in the halfway house.
That's right. Well,
Okay,
that would be
with
nice.
with little leg bracelets on. Yeah, cool.
Oh, just
Okay,
the
so it's
visual
a mess.
of that. Just the visual of that.
So it's a
So,
mess.
but here's the thing. I want to take this from the automotive sector.
Okay, we're not going to ramble.
We're going to ramble a little bit.
All right.
We're going to take this from the automotive sector into the fact that the cost of healthcare again is going up again.
You think? I can't wait to see what my premium's going to be next year. It's already disgusting.
Goes back to the rudimentary thing that they are not addressing what is costing healthcare to go up, and that's a different thing. So, I think it's time that I turn this over to a millennial.
Okay.
And Bryce is here.
Bryce, hop on.
And part of the grand strategy on the whole healthcare reform is we're going to get all these healthy millennials into the pool, and they don't have health issues. So what's going to happen, which is really cool, is because they don't have any issues, they don't have to go to the doctor, but they'll keep on paying into the pool. Well, now the younger generation is also picking up the tab for the Social Security and everything else. You know how well that's been working out. So I want to get a millennial's input on it.
Me and Bryce will talk about that.
And
I have some questions for him.
Might also want to go ahead and talk about college and what's happening in the college commission.
Yeah, so I'll let him put that mic up there. Bryce, welcome.
Hello?
You're good, man. You're speaking. Okay, so let's start. I always have to backtrack with him. You understand? And keep it under control. First thing you said was healthcare. So let's talk about that. Being your age and being a millennial, did you sign up for health insurance like you were supposed to?
19 years old. I do not have health care.
You do not have health care.
I expired out of my family's plan at 18, and I have not renewed since. I haven't found another contract. I haven't signed anything.
You didn't sign anything. And is there a reason? Because you could be covered under your family up to age 26, correct?
Correct.
But you chose to be out of it because you didn't want to cost them money.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. Yes, sir.
Hurdle.
Come on, Hurdie. And Hurdle. That's all good. Yep.
Up to age 26, yes, with extra cost. Something my family can't afford right now.
So you backed out as a good guy.
Under my own volition, under my own free will, had the option to resign, didn't have the extra cash.
Right. And if you were to, and since you live in Texas, if you were to go on to the exchange, because I don't know what your income is, but obviously it has to be at a certain level, or you have to pay the top price for the premium. So that knocked you out.
The
correct?
premium was the deciding factor.
And so no way I can pay 300, 200, whatever bucks a month.
I'm happy to buy peanut butter.
Okay, there you go. And so, but you're got to pay a tax penalty.
Yes, sir.
Right?
That's
which is
feature.
1% or 3% this year, correct?
3.
So whatever
3.
your total income is, 3% is going to go back
Yes, sir.
into the pool. Or no, it won't go into that pool. It'll go back in to pay Social Security back for what they're robbing from it right now. All right, so let's talk a little bit about baby boomers. That's me. That's John. We have
generation.
at age 65, we could take Social Security. If we leave it sit till 72, we get more money.
But how many of you will?
But how many of us will? That's a scary thing to talk about. And my point to you is, did you realize, Bryce, that 10,000 baby boomers are mandatorily taking their Social Security every day?
I have not.
Now, you think about that pool going away. You guys are paying, they've been robbing Peter to pay Paul out of that
I've
system
been
for a
paying
long
into Social
time.
Security since the age of 16.
That's right. And you'll continue to pay into Social Security forever and ever. Amen. But you're paying, but there's not enough of you guys right now paying into it fast enough as we're taking it out. And since the government says that 65, it's not mandatory, but when you get to age 70, it's mandatory. You have to take it out of the pool. So you guys are paying for these 10,000 people to pull this money out every day. So to me, your opinion, I think there's going to be another economic bust just simply because it's going to run out of money.
I think there'll be another economic bust. I think Social Security will be a driving factor. I think you're also going to see it for a number of other reasons. I do agree that Social Security is going to be a push, a strong push for that economic bust, especially since it's not something we look forward to.
No.
We don't look forward to paying that Social Security. We're very disenfranchised with the idea of Social Security and the way that it works in the process that
right
it tried to buy into.
And so you're disenfranchised because it's forced on you, or would you rather see something that's privatized that you could make some own choices about where to put your money?
The privatized option would be nice. I'm not
at least have that option. You don't have to take it.
I'm not against the governmental Social Security. The system hasn't worked. I think we're all in firm agreement. I saw 3 men throw their hands in the air. We're in firm agreement. That system hasn't worked. Move on. We need something else. And if we're going to be the generation to deal with it, I would like to see it come in and affect our generation.
Any ideas?
Bernie Sanders.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So the cool
there.
thing about that is why?
Why?
And I'm not asking you that because I'm putting you on the spot. I'm just really wanting to get your feelings on what is maybe I should ask it this way, Bryce. What's the attraction to Bernie Sanders?
The attraction to Bernie Sanders, he speaks to the millennial generation without trying. He tells us
but the man is like 70.
The man is 70, but he hasn't tried to be hip. He hasn't tried to be cool. He hasn't tried to attract our demographic in any way other than his policies. He's come to us through what we've wanted to hear, through free education, through, as stereotypical as it sounds, the legalization of marijuana for different reasons than getting high with your buddies, through things like the Social Security options and ideas and policies. He's attracted the millennial generation despite being 70-something, just for the way he has approached this political race.
Now, this is a cliche question, so understand that.
Shoot for it.
But if all those things are dibbled out and he were to win and all those things were dibbled out, where is the paycheck come from?
Paycheck being
who writes the check for all that? Who pays for, if the education's free, who writes the check?
We do. It's a Scandinavian socialism. Everybody shoulders everybody else's burden. We pay for that.
Right, and you've been a part of that, so you understand that system really well. Okay, so that's cool. So the millennials are attracted to stuff that's been working, which tells me traditional politics doesn't turn you on at all.
That actually leads us really well to another discussion I was hoping to have.
Well, we ramble here, so knock yourself out.
That's fine.
Oh, hold it. That's worth a doorbell. And Bryce's 5 other points. There you go. All right, go ahead.
Very generous. Very generous. Got a scorecard, Russell? My generation as a whole is disenfranchised with politics completely. I know out of my entire friend group, people I talk to, I know of 2 other people who watched the Republican debate. Out
Right.
of heaven only knows how many. We didn't pay attention. We didn't care. We're disenfranchised with the political system as a whole, the way it functions, the way it works,
Both
the way
sides
they
of the
jerk us
aisle, right?
around.
Doesn't matter.
Completely.
Okay.
Um,
How do you like that they pass bills behind closed doors without revealing everything in them? How do you like that they spend money without accountability?
well, it doesn't exactly breed Donald Trump's "Let's Make America Great Again."
Okay, well that's a catchphrase for politics, right? So he's got to say something,
He has to say something, but he also has to remember that if he wants our age demographic, we don't
right?
remember when America was quote unquote great. We didn't grow up in a. I remember the economic bust. I don't remember before the economic bust.
Well, you haven't been around
I
for
haven't.
you
I haven't.
weren't around for those times, so you can only base your future on
I've
what
grown
you've grown up in.
I've grown up in obese, broke America.
Right. And you have. And the struggle's been a big struggle every single time, economy wise. All right. So it leads to this. When I tell you that the numbers that we see unemployment aren't accurate, and I say that there's 93 million people out of work that have given up on the workforce, how does that make you feel knowing that especially a lot of those are in the millennials that just can't get ahead with the right kind of jobs? That includes my age demographic too. So don't get me
But
wrong.
it does feel like that, and especially it feels like that a lot when you bring education into the conversation. College is expensive.
And you go, yeah. So think about this. Think about how crazy this is. A guy goes to college. He gets student loans for his 4 years there. It's $30,000 at least per semester, easily. I'm just being rounding numbers. So you go 4 years, 30,000 a semester. That's 60,000 a year times 4. That's $240,000, right? You walk out. You may or may not be able to find a job. You may or may not. You may or may not be able to find a job. You're accountable to those. You can't go bankrupt in them. You can't write them off, and they never go away. And so you're already working yourself into the American dream with over 100 grand, and I'm just rounding it off. It's more than that. Over 100 grand in debt with the ability maybe not to pay it back, which hurts you on loans, hurts you on your credit score. There's all sorts of bad things that happen, right? Exactly. That has to be fixed. I agree.
You can't ask a workforce to go into work in debt. You can't ask a workforce to go into work in debt and then be productive and then to make investments in your economy and then to move your economy forward.
Right.
You can't ask us to be in debt and then invest in this, support this, move forward in this business venture.
Well,
John Russell, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about your selection of Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
What's the difference between what Bernie is saying and what Hillary is saying? Isn't Hillary saying a lot of the same things?
She is. A, it's coming from a Clinton, which has a certain connotation. B, she's a great speaker. She's a gorgeous speaker, a beautiful public speaker, textbook. It reads false. It comes through corny and phony. It comes through pre-written, pre-stated. Bernie makes it look real, and that's what sells the generation that's disenfranchised with politics.
Is there anybody, any president or any presidential candidate of the past, of the last 100 years, that Bernie reminds you of? I want to see if you come up with the same thing that I came up with.
Who'd you come up with? FDR?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt? Why Teddy Roosevelt?
Because Teddy Roosevelt wanted to go in and he successfully broke up the power brokers, the big corporations. He was the first one who said, look, we need to nationalize, we need to have national parks. We need to start taking care of the common man. We need to make sure that everyone has a fair shake. Sound familiar?
Sounds familiar. The reason I said FDR was that was the last time that you saw a strong, definable example of government helping the man.
So, John, you don't put the mic on me. Just ask Bryce if Mr. Sanders does not win the nomination.
What are you going to do?
Will they vote Democratic? Or
what would you do what would you do if Bernie doesn't get the nomination? And
who does? If Bernie does not get the nomination, who does?
Well, Hillary.
Clinton. I would vote Clinton over Trump. every time I walk into
You know,
that booth.
Trump is losing now in the polls. He's second in the polls.
I
Ben Carson.
agree.
Ben Carson.
So he would stick loyal to the message, right? He wouldn't want to, but what he's saying, John, is he would stick
I
with
would
it.
take the message over the presenter if it's Hillary Clinton who's presenting it. If it came down to it. If it's
Well, are
if
there
it's
any
Ted Cruz,
Republicans?
I don't think that'll happen.
Are
But
there
if it's
any?
Ted Cruz and Hillary Clinton, I'm going to push the button for Clinton.
Are there any Republicans that you guys are interested in?
Based on your debates, no. There's not a Republican who has grabbed my interest in any.
None of them whatsoever. Not even close.
There are aspects of certain candidates that I agree with. There is not a political scheme that I agree with. There's not something that says, put me in charge of your country.
What do you think is wrong with Jeb Bush?
I know.
Well, here, why don't you tell us?
But we're going to put you back on too. Okay, so the problem with Jeb Bush is he's saying a message, right? That goes against what the people they're tired of hearing. He's using past stuff. Oh, I was a great governor. I did great in this state. Nobody cares. That's not what they care about. What they care about is, what are you going to do for me now? Okay. We've had plenty of politicians, John, jump into politics that had a message, right? And they said all the right things, right? But it didn't matter. It's a different level of leadership to go from a governor to a president, even from a community service person to a president. Okay. I mean, you can say I have a great record, but do you care? What's his record in Florida? What's he done?
What, Jeb Bush?
Yeah, what's he done?
Well, he's done a lot in Florida.
Well, I know he has, but
he was
nobody,
good with the
but
economy
3% of the people care in the polls. They don't care. They want to hear something like, how do we deal with illegal immigration? How do we deal with growing debt? How do we get back to where we're a country where we don't hate each other and we're not so divided that we can't sit down and have coffee without punching our best friend in the face for taking a political view?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the division thing.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I think he doesn't bring to the table is, and you know what? He's like a lot like Hillary in the sense that he has a great message, but I never get the sense he's genuine.
I'll tell you the thing that I don't like about Jeb Bush is that he's got all these big power brokers, these super PACs that are behind him, and I'm sick and tired of big money controlling the political system. And that's the number one reason why I could not support Jeb. I think he's a good man in his heart, probably, but I'm so tired of people being puppets of K Street and Wall Street. I want people who are going to be puppets of the American people, who listen to the people. Hey, so Bryce, I want to ask you, a lot of the people going over and joining ISIS,
yeah,
are males your age.
Okay, so what's the question?
So I want you to think about it from this perspective. If you were president of this country, how would you address ISIS? How would you look at the big problem, and how would you want to address it? And what do you think? Do you think that would be consistent with the rest of your generation, what you're going to come up with?
I think ISIS is a fear factor right now, especially for America. They make news headlines consistently. They make news headlines. They make great standpoints in any sort of campaign, especially coming up on your election. I personally am of the opinion, deal with ISIS at home. If it goes international, deal with it there. You brought up the fact that males my age are joining ISIS. Overseas, you're not going to have the same political influence you do at home. You cannot walk into another culture, say, we're right, you're wrong, stop attacking us, as you scream it from the top of your tank. I don't think you can do that. I've had friends in the military. I have multiple friends who have been overseas. The situation over there is much different than the ones you hear about on CNN, on Fox, on News at Night, however you choose to listen. I think ISIS, while a definite factor and a definite push, has been changed and pushed and viewed by politicians, by news, by media into something that suits the message they're trying to get across.
Interesting. Now I'm going to back up here. I'm a little bit on the conservative side. Okay, so I hadn't said that yet because I wanted to hear everything out, but I'm very respectful of anything people say because that's how we learn from others, right? And I want people to listen to the show on the archive should know that this is what we discuss. We're not trying to fight about stuff where we stand. We're trying to jump into just learning about stuff and having different opinions and letting people decide for themselves, right, John?
Well, that's correct. But is, remember the eraser word. Now, he said something, and I think of that angle is very accurate. That
John was listening.
Things get
Doorbell.
Things get ginned up. Things get ginned up by the media because that drives ratings, and it also can get ginned up by the U.S. government to win sympathy for an objective. I mean, the fiasco in Iraq was the latest example of that. But ISIS, I think, is a very, very serious situation. And the reason I brought this up to you, Bryce, is they were talking about the mind of the people who want to join it. A lot of these young people who are in their teens who join ISIS, and they're living in a very comfortable environment in Europe. I mean, a very comfortable middle-class environment. They have a good education, but they decide to join because they buy into the thing, the lie that we are at the end of the world, and they want to be in front and center stage on the end of civilization as we know it. It's kind of like we can't stop it, so we're going to be in the middle of it. And
well, and to that point, John, just because you join something doesn't mean that they're right. Okay, so
well, no, they're not right.
I want to make that point that they might be great recruiters, but at the same point, if you look back at history, Bryce, a little history lesson, and I studied it pretty well in school, but I can't say I'm great at it anymore. But you know, when we stayed out of Germany and we stayed out of Japan in World War II, but guess what they did? They came after us, and the Japanese came after us at Pearl Harbor. They sunk and killed 3,000 of our American sailors on a Sunday morning, and we weren't involved. And so the first thing we did was declare war immediately on Japan with what naval force we had left. And then we got involved in Germany because they were running over every single European country from Germany out, and it had to be stopped. So there was a point where it had nothing. You have to, when people go back and look at history, there's always parallels, because you have to use those parallels to make great decisions and great leadership decisions. And I think what the problem is today, at least this is my thinking, okay, and I'm just claiming it, is that there are some parallels here. There's a part of the country that could literally cause World War III like that, okay? There's all the factions that have interest in that part of the world are involved. China, Russia, United States, the Jewish folks, the Palestinians, all the different sects and cultures, right, are all involved. We're at a very big crossroads now, and we have to decide as a country: are we going to sit on an island, right, and we're going to wait, or are we going to have to find a place, find a time to get involved? But the problem is, it's a different kind of war. This is hide and seek, hide behind human shields. That isn't the way wars used to be fought. Guys put on uniforms and they found each other, and they went out and fought each other on front lines. And there weren't women and children. They weren't hiding in cities. It wasn't urban warfare like that. You know, it was when they got there, but it wasn't like that when they were confronting them. So it's a whole different ball game. And so that's the hard
line has changed.
Yeah, it's a whole big deal. Now, I will also say, going back to some of your thoughts on Mr. Sanders, because I want to throw my 2 cents in on this side too, is to make sure that what's happened to a lot of the millennials, and this is again an opinion, is that you've been taught a certain way. You don't have the history behind everything to know why we're at the place we're at, and why so many of the Republicans are being really conservative and hard-nosed about where they're at. Is because they're not getting both sides of the picture. I'm not saying you're not smart. I'm not saying you're not going out and researching what's going on in the world, but you know one side. And when you know one side, you live one side. And that, it's just that simple. But I think as time goes, you'll think into things. You'll learn a lot from what you're going through today. I appreciate that you very well have said, this is where I stand with this. This is where my heart is. That's what makes this country great, is you can say that. And right. So any thoughts? I just threw a bunch of crap at you. I'll give myself a doorbell if you don't mind, because you're getting ready to get 3 or 4 here.
I don't disagree with any of your ISIS opinions. I really don't. They're a radical force. They've taken a strong stance on America, the American lifestyle, American soldiers, and American lives. The issue I see is where it stops being a media issue and starts being an action issue. If you're going to take action, just take the action. I don't want to see another CNN story. I want, if you're going to talk about this issue and talk about this issue, someone has to finally step up and take the front. Leadership for sure would be a good thing.
So I want to take this back full circle, because we brought up Bernie Sanders, but part of what I want to keep this focus on also is saving the middle class. And that's not a cliche. That is not a cliche.
That's a reality.
It's a reality. And one of the reasons why I like the idea of hybrid political thinking is we've been so preoccupied with one extreme yelling at the other extreme. So you've got, as I said, the tea bags on one side and the sprout heads on the other side, and the poor middle class is stuck in the squeeze in the middle, getting screwed royally, because the sprout heads and the tea bags still have their special interest groups that are driving that argument. What's the say, the real say for the real middle class in this country? And I think that's one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders is doing well, because to your point, Bryce, he is authentic. He's not a phony. He's not listening to a bunch of, handlers. By the way, I saw his first political ad, which was quite impressive. And on the flip side, you got Donald Trump. But the thing with Donald Trump is the man has a big mouth and he's a narcissist. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it.
I was only given $1 million by my father to start a business.
That's right. And I'm kind of hesitant to support someone who might erect a giant statue of himself on the Washington Mall as a gift to the country. That concerns me. I didn't say that he was going to do it, but and you just said it. You just said it a minute ago about the $1 million. I mean, Bryce, your parents are exceptionally hardworking people. And if you wanted to go out and start your own business, could your dad write you a check for $1 million? No. So,
but on the flip, you can't hear me, so I'm
connection. So now,
just real quick. So John. So on the flip side of that, right? And I'm gonna turn my mic around here because this is kitchen table. So on the flip side, though, he took $1 million, and he's now a $10 billion company that hires a lot of people and has done a lot for the economy. So do you give him credit that he did stretch out to the $10 billion? And that doesn't, and I said this last week, that doesn't mean he's going to be a good president, but he does have leadership skills.
But can he get along with Congress?
He doesn't have to. You don't have to anymore. You just write an executive order. I'm just kidding. Yes, the problem is, this is what we talked about last week, and Bryce, you'll love this because this is right up your alley. The problem is there's such a division. And we said this last week, and I'll repeat it. There's such a division, it wouldn't matter who you put on either side. Both are going to be dividers because they've already set in stone that nobody's going to cave in and ever agree with the other side. So you're at a stalemate no matter who you put in there, right? Unless you come up with somebody that's an extremely good communicator that can actually slow down that divide. And I'm not sure if that's Carson or not, okay? But it's going to take some sort of miracle person that understands leadership and communication that makes that happen, because the divide is already created. It's already there. Are you going to, I mean, are conservative people going to change their views, or liberal? No. They're always trying to make me be them, and that other side's always trying to make them come to you or you come to them, right? So I don't know.
That goes back into, that returns to the idea of hybrid political thinking, because
Right. And we're
in
just
this
discussing, by the way, and I
in
got our
this-
Aussie over here.
in this
Way down.
case, yeah, we got a dog in the middle here.
We got our mascot here. so you
And
can
in
put your
this
foot up here.
case, what happens is, because no one is allowing themselves to be subject to having an opinion changed. They're
Yep.
polarized.
Okay.
Hybrid political thinking dictates that you might convince me of a certain point of view, and I'm going to agree with you because you brought up such a good point, and vice versa, in the reverse. So, that's the other thing.
Keep going, man. Our mascot
watching
is tangled
We
up.
got the dog tangled up in the wires here.
Oh, man.
poor baby. Here.
Flipped up. It's fun. We love our show. We love our show.
We have an 80-pound technical difficulty.
Okay, so he's cool. Actually, he's
All right,
50.
back online.
All right. So anyhow, Bryce, what John was saying, being polarized, right? Meaning that we've set ourselves up so bad right now, right? That nobody can sit down. There's no compromise, right? None.
Well, you have very polarizing issues in discussion right now. The
Right.
legalization of what has been a Schedule I drug,
Right.
change on a fundamental view of marriage. You have the Planned Parenthood issue has come
Right.
into light recently.
Right.
New issues that haven't been dealt with before have come in, and they're playing on old traditional values.
Right.
And you're going to have polarizing views. What it's going to take, and especially with a hybrid political thinking, as John has talked about earlier, you're going to have to find some way where a great compromise might leave everybody a little unhappy, but it might not leave everyone furious.
But I think good leadership is willing to take that risk and put that out there, because the compromise and collaboration is part of life. It's how we all deal with each other every day.
And eventually, I think the other fact of that is eventually the country, the political system, the human system, the population system, everyone's going to take a stand at some point. Even no statement is its own statement.
Yeah, it means
You will eventually,
point.
something will have to be said on all of those issues.
Good point.
Lesbian, gay, trans marriages. Even the CNN tonight, wasn't it CNN, John, had the issue on the restrooms, PBS, on transgender and restrooms. At some point, stances will have to be made on issues no one has thought about before.
Right.
You're looking at a legalization of marijuana, as also discussed on I believe it was the PBS News. Each state will regulate that differently. You're going to start having these polarizing issues come up, and you're going to have to find a way to take a polarizing issue, a black and a white, and you're going to have to find a gray where the black and whites can come together to make that.
That's right. A couple of nights ago, I was watching two interesting specials. One was on the 1964 presidential election when Barry Goldwater ran against. Did you see that?
Well, I can't talk, but yeah.
He ran against Johnson, and how that was the first time that they actually used real savvy advertising, like Madison Avenue type advertising, to help win the election. And, the famous Daisy ad and all that. Anybody old enough knows what that is. You've got the little kid picking the petals of the flower. And
Search
all of a sudden
YouTube, it's worth it.
What's that?
I said make a YouTube search, it's worth it.
Yeah.
YouTube. I love you, man.
Educated by YouTube and influenced by Twitter.
And then went into the 68 election. And one of the things, one of my takeaways was the brilliance of Nixon's strategy, because he had to make sure that George Wallace, who I still contend was one of the original Tea Party kind of guys. Hate to say it, that doesn't mean that all Tea Party people are racist. Don't get me wrong on that. But I'm saying though, but the other things of what he adhered to.
No, I mean, I'm from Alabama and was there during that time.
Yeah.
So I know exactly. I was raised in Huntsville, Alabama. So yeah, I was raised in Alabama during that time. I'm putting my mic headset back on, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I was there for all the rioting and everything that went on during the late 60s and early 70s. So I get that. Different time.
But Wallace, he had a raw nerve of a lot of people who are sick and tired of things going the wrong direction and sick and tired of the lawlessness in the country, and they wanted order. Well, what Nixon did in his brilliance is he also seized that energy and he carved out the outer part of Wallace's original territory, and that was the main way, the main reason, the main road that he actually won the election. But what's really interesting is if you follow back the red states and the blue states, that was the beginning of that whole map. If you look at a map of the election in 1968, you look at a map of all the recent elections, the Democrats tend to have the Northeast, they have the Northwest, and California. It's been pretty much the same pattern, except all of Wallace's states are now Republican states as well. So, I mean, that's part of the fascination about that whole era, how much it affected what's going on now. And that was years ago. That was
Yeah,
40 years ago.
it's interesting, John, how past elections and issues parallel
They do.
that they do today. I just still feel like we're more polarized though than we've ever been. At least I remember seeing compromise over bills, and they weren't 3,500 pages long and closed behind doors. They were shared with the American people, as far as I know. Not always, right? But there was a lot more leadership in our country back then, right? I mean, the challenge of going to the moon in 1961 or three or one, and we built this spacecraft, this awesome spacecraft that went to the moon. There was a lot of collaboration. There was an American Patriot thing against being the first to put a man on the moon. There were projects that Americans could invest in, right? The other thing I wanted to ask you, though, Bryce, we're going to ramble on. Lord, I was born a rambling man. Okay. Anyhow, brothers, just so you know. Okay. All right. Political correctness. Does it drive you crazy?
It does, and part of what drives me crazy about it is that the false ring to it. It doesn't feel like you can really discuss an issue when you're so busy dancing around certain words, or you're so busy dancing around the issue you can't discuss it.
Or even your thoughts, for that matter. If your thoughts or if your thoughts end up having to be verbalized and they're so different from what the PC is, right? You kind of feel like you need to shut up, and I think that's what's wrong with political correctness, right? And you can't
changes the entire context of your sentence. I mean,
right? And you didn't even mean it. You know, people looked inside their hearts, right? And when somebody says something, it's amazing that that people judge them when from their heart they were probably being sincere as heck and didn't mean anything by what they said. They were just speaking what they were You should be able to say, I feel angry at this person for doing this, or I feel angry at this Congress because they did this. If you can't say that, and then you're ostracized because you shared your feelings, that's bad news. Agreed?
Feelings make for a bad argument, though, especially in today's.
I agree.
Everyone wants to research everything. Feelings
I agree.
Out of check easily.
Yeah, right. I mean, feelings come and go. I get that.
Feelings come and go, and feelings change too.
Yes, they do.
Values might not.
I enjoyed you a minute ago, but I'm not so happy with you right now. Just one right now. I'm kidding with you. All right. So, Bryce, tell us what millennials are interested in. What are they looking forward to? What do they want to see in the future?
A sense of purpose is the biggest thing lacking in the millennial generation right now. We're searching for something. We saw the 1960s try the beatniks. We saw the 1970s try recovering from the beatniks. We saw the 1990s that age group tried the grunge scene, and of the political side of all of those aside, right now I think that our generation is in a definite state of transition between where we are, what we're allowed to do, and where it's going. And I think there's a very definite empty space in the millennial generation for something to commit to, which, to bring it back, might be why you have seen that age group commit to ISIS. we don't have
There's a
we
big,
don't
huge
have a
void.
world war.
There's a
We
big
don't have
void.
yeah. There's been a serious drop from religion, a disenfranchisement with the church. That void in humanity will be filled somewhere, and I think it'll be the test of the millennial generation how we fill it.
And as you mature and figure out the steps to solve it,
We
so
will see.
did I just
we
hear
will
you
reap
say
the
that there's a
rewards of what we sow.
helplessness to the future, or just
There
feeling like there's a
feels
void?
like there's
It
a
feels like
helplessness to the future. College is expensive. Small businesses fail. You're
can't get
not
loans, can't
get loans. You're not successful unless you're the Donald Trump $10 billion story. No one wants to go into. You want to be a celebrity? Some do, some don't. Do you want to? Can you be an athlete? Some can, some can't. There's a very definite lack.
So you guys are
of that
really
fulfillment.
having to go out, Bryce, and really try to uncover and discover yourselves and try to figure out where to fit in with this.
Like every
whole-
generation of humanity before us.
Right.
I think we just have different opportunities now than have ever been presented
Do
before.
you feel like you're in information overload too? Do you feel the stress of that with the internet, with the world of internet and instant
Not
communication?
so
and
much information overload, because any information you go looking for, obviously you're interested in, but there's a definite, just a sensory overload of
bombarded every
there's
day.
advertisements everywhere you go about everything. That you never. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you ever get an opinion. You get to pick between somebody else's various opinions you can find on
Yeah.
X, Y, or Z.
And then you're not even sure if what you're reading is truthful or
Is
it's just
true.
being slanted or, trying to figure out what it really is,
But then
right?
it's a
Sensational
constant search
headlines.
for you. But
Right.
that's not a new human struggle.
No.
It's just different in a generation without necessarily a face. As you go to chat rooms, to Reddit, to Twitter, to Instagram, to wherever you would go.
And now to break away from that a second, I'll let John jump in here, and we got 15 more minutes. But my next question to you is, what percentage of millennials do you think, depending on who gets nominated, right? But what percentage of millennials do you think will actually get up and on that Tuesday go vote or go early vote for president this year?
Well, we had a drop in the age demographic vote anyway. Last year, we're down to, I believe, 19.9%, if I remember correctly. You're going to have to see a strong leader come forward who breaks away and makes a connection with the millennial generation, away from the debates, possibly away from the news media. You're going to have to, the political candidate will have to step up and connect with that generation in a way that rings true.
That's genuine.
In order to draw them to the polls.
That's genuine.
We will not go to the polls on our own. It's
right.
the sad truth.
Yeah, and even a lot of grown adults our age won't get to the polls. That's the sad truth. And a lot of elections have been lost and not won because certain people just stayed at home. So I just was
George
really
Carlin
curious.
had a great bit on
what
that.
did George Carlin say? Because I think I know where you're going with it.
Well, speaking of PC,
right.
I don't know if I can do
well,
this skit,
I'll tell you what. Just go beep. Just go beep when you get to that word.
Go ahead and say it.
I won't go to the polls on election day. I will stay home and beep, because at the end of it, at least I'll have something to show for it. I love George
That's good.
Carlin, man.
Yeah, and you guys get a lot of you millennials. I've noticed have followed a lot of the old past things. You know what I'm saying? The George Carlins, probably the Gallaghers of the world, probably the old 70s bands, probably. If I said Metallica and Graham Funk and Led Zeppelin and all those,
Led Zeppelin's my favorite band.
You'll know them all.
Yeah.
You know them all,
Yeah.
right? So that's pretty cool about the millennials. They still love our music, John. They love our music, and it's some of the best. We did, and so that's awesome. All right, so John, here, put these back on. Let me bow out. John Russell's back on. I love kitchen table talk.
That's so much fun.
We're having fun.
Oh, I'm poking myself in the eye. Okay, what up?
So, well, I kind of ad-libbed there for a while. I think I've worn Bryce out. So if you guys want to chat about anything, we've got about 10 minutes left.
What'd you do to the microphone?
Those earphones are tore up.
Yeah, man, it's like sticking me either in the chin or in the nose, or my volume's good.
That's a nice feature.
Bryce, I got a curious question.
Shoot for it.
You said that you guys, a lot of millennials like Bernie Sanders. What does Bernie Sanders have to do to get you guys out of your dorm rooms or to the polls? I mean, does he have to offer you folks candy, or what's the deal here? I mean, don't you folks see what's happening to this country? I mean,
no.
take
a
it
lot of
a
us,
step.
a lot of us don't, and a lot
So-
of the people I try to engage about political issues or
Why are
a
they brain dead?
presidential campaign,
Or are they brain dead?
as we
Hey, this is
being
not
a college
argumentative.
student, I
No,
would
no, it's
say
not.
yes.
But I'm just
No.
asking them a question.
Are they brain dead? No. Are they uninterested? Majority
Why?
are. I hate to rehash, you have to beat a dead horse, the political disenfranchisement, and there's so much else going on. We're worried about that college debt. We're worried about where we're going to end up in that failing middle class.
Yeah, but if there's a solution by voting for it, that's what fascinates me.
John, asking this question, because I may not be heard on mic, or y'all talk about this. Why does the whole world, we're almost done.
Why does the whole world?
That's not accurate.
Why does the whole world?
Why is everything have to be politics?
Why does everything have to be
political? Didn't used to be that way.
Well, okay, I think that's a better question that you should hand me, because Bryce hasn't been around long enough to remember how it used
I think
to be.
everything is political these days because it's the last acceptable use of power. You don't have an army anymore. You don't have a war anymore. You don't have
Well, but we do have a war.
providership for your men. You don't work on a farm. You don't. It's the last accepted use of power in a true sense, and power is a huge human reassurance. I'm powerful. I am safe. I'm powerful. I'll be remembered.
Oh, yeah,
I'm powerful.
But no,
I'm
wait a
not
minute.
going to get old and die.
All right, down Donald. Okay, so the thing is though, I think we've always had a political engagement.
Yeah, but I think what I was trying to ask, and I'll try to say this loud enough to be heard through your mic, is that why does everything revolve around politics? The food we eat, the soft drinks we drink. Why does everything?
Oh, okay, I know. No, okay.
That would drive me crazy in your age.
It does, and I
Okay.
think you brought politics into food when you brought things into food that had never been there before, and you had stuff come out of food that wasn't just energy, molecular ATP, and whatever you leave in the toilet. When you brought chemicals in, when you brought additives in, when you brought in agents that had to be regulated outside of, did I water it? Did I farm it? Am I gonna?
You got to let me say something now to that. Your great point, because there as an example, we're going to bring up food. The big agri-product companies are also big political donors
They own everything.
to major party candidates. It goes back to the super PACs and K Street. The lobbyists, yeah. So you can't help but look at your food as one simple example and say, all right, I don't like this food. I don't like someone telling me that I have to eat food that's full of this or that. I guess the option is to find out who's my spokesperson that's going to address this issue. That spokesperson is in the political arena.
Okay, so my question back again, John, and y'all can address this, is when you start having a government politicize what size soft drink you can drink, wouldn't that drive you crazy?
Nope.
It doesn't drive you crazy?
To me, it's the same thing of, first of all, no, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to give away that secret, but it's kind of like the seatbelt. The seatbelt. That didn't drive me crazy. Motorcyclists wearing helmets. No. After I saw one guy on the freeway who had his brain spewed out, it doesn't drive me crazy.
Right, but I'm talking about that. I understand those laws. I do, but I'm talking about when it comes down to start telling you your choices and what you can and can't do. That would drive me crazy. Bryce.
I think it has to depend on where you come from.
Okay.
If that is a big enough stance to you, I can't get more than 32 ounces of Coke at McDonald's. I can't.
I'm mad.
I think it depends on how seriously you take that issue and how deeply you read into it. Doesn't bother me. Don't like soda. Gives me a headache. I'm not affected, and I don't see it as a huge political issue. That being said, I can see where it could be strewn as one.
Here's where I'm leaning toward, okay, because I didn't get my question out. Now I'm getting there. All right, so it comes down to healthcare, and the government takes over healthcare, and it becomes just a government health industry, period, down the road, right, in the future. And so what would you feel like if they started telling you, in order for you to get treatment, you have to do certain things? You can only eat certain kinds of foods. You can only drink certain kind of beverages. Would that drive you crazy?
To a certain degree, that's happening already with the private sector.
If it snowballs and all of a
The private sector, the private insurance has always, at least in the last 20 years, controlled a lot of that. So that's irrelevant.
I think you have to look at the fact that those have real proven factors behind them. I mean, there is consistent evidence and research coming out about the detriments of some food. Smoking, for example. You're not going to find many people who dispute the fact that cigarettes are great for you.
No, but they're fun to smoke, man.
You're not going to find that argument.
No, I agree.
I mean,
all right, so I want to go back one more time because we're winding down. We talked about legalization of marijuana. What I'm more interested in the legalization of marijuana is the absolute coolness of hemp. It is such a good industrial product, and the fact that they used to go to the Indian reservations and knock it down, man, it is a very viable product to be used in it's for clothing, for whatever. And the fact is, because they didn't legalize it and they cut down all these beautiful hemp. I mean, it's used in other countries. Industrial hemp is used in other countries.
Makes great clothes.
And so I'm saying that what an industrial that would be here,
like
just
100 times potential strength of cotton.
Right.
Ridiculous. Oh,
right.
ridiculous.
And I'm just saying the fact that even that part could be legalized as a step to get more jobs and to get that in industry, because could be a huge crop for farmers that could make a lot of money using industrial hemp, right?
I think it's time to change the sentence from marijuana cash crop to hemp cash crop.
That's fine. But you know what?
What about branding?
Y'all's generation, whether I agree with that or not, is going to win out on this. Okay, it may take you a little time. But in reality, it's going to do that. I mean, I'm getting tired of seeing people go out and drink 10 beers and killing people on streets. Okay, you know, if they want to control something too, they want to look at alcohol versus weed. Okay,
prohibition.
I know I know there's a long discussion on this, but I've seen plenty of people raving alcoholics. Okay, that have been out killing people. So both can be bad at times and good at times, right? But you guys are going to win out on that, whether I like it or not. And I have no problem with whatever decision's made or what's voted in. I'm just saying that there's a lot of good uses for it that needs to be experimented with and see, especially medical. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. And the hemp thing, industrial hemp, get some farmers growing hemp. It's a huge industry. They can make a ton of money because the okay. I just kidding with
millennial candidate.
I'm just kidding with you. All right, guys. So we're going to wind it down. John, do you want to jump back on here and help me close out the show? Bryce, thank you. You're awesome.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been fun. I like this. All right, John, welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay. If your friend said we rambled too much last week, he's really going to love this show. And for all you listeners out there, we appreciate you listening in. But the cool thing is we're going to get most of the listeners on the archive. And we discussed a lot tonight. But what was really cool was having Bryce in. And Bryce is, oh, my God, 40 years, almost 50 years, 40 years, 35 years younger than we are. And, yeah, 19 years old, 40, something years old. And hearing what they're thinking is really cool. And this is something John and I do, believe it or not, Bryce, and we had this discussion on our marketing, is we listen to you guys because we have to take care of our clients, right, in business, and we need to know what you guys are thinking. And this is why I keep telling my old demographic of folks with brick and mortar, they need to have videos, and they need to be on YouTube, and they need to get to the point. That's what you guys want. So, John, any final thoughts on tonight's hybrid? I thought it was really cool, calm. We're all friends. Look, we still love each other. It's all cool. We'll hang out.
Right. No, I thought it was good. And one little thing I'm going to add, because you were talking about pot a second ago, I'm going to close it with this, because we brought up about, that there is right now an election going on in Ohio about legalizing pot.
Yeah.
But who's driving that whole proposition are the big agri companies, because they want to leave the little guy out of the picture. They want to get into it, and they want
heard that today. That was on. I heard that news this morning.
Well, let's talk about the fact that they only want to give, 10 companies the right to grow marijuana?
Yeah, it's called a monopoly.
It is a monopoly. It is a monopoly.
Driven by special interests.
And it'll pay off. It's the sharp contrast to Colorado's providers can grow their own, and there's a certain number of plants that a personal user, a home user, can grow themselves. It's a different situation when you bring that monopoly into it, and you're going to see it work, or you're going to see it fail, or you're going to see those agro companies push for more. You're going to see politics play out in the money.
So I'm going to leave everyone on that thought.
Okay.
And we'll sign out now, and we'll till next time.
Yeah.
All right, here's Hurdie. He's got a couple little bonus.
You have been listening to the I hate to claim it, the Hurdie Burk Internet Broadcast Network tonight, where we're discussing hybrid political thinking. We're on every Tuesday night from 7 till 8. We're bumping up against that hour. I want to thank Bryce for being here. John, as usual, the sidekick on the show. Appreciate him. And guys, like I said, we're not always going to agree on what we talk, and sometimes we'll sit back and just listen and not even put our thoughts in. But the cool thing is we're all buddies. We like to talk. We like to have conversation about this and let you guys think about what we talked about and make your own conclusions and decisions. So we want to say good night. John, say good night.
Good night.
Bryce, yell good night. All right, guys. We'll see y'all around the corner next Tuesday night. You've been listening to the Hurdie Burk Internet Broadcast Network.